a lot of candidates are going to be way ahead of you because they've got 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, right? But the only place where most of the candidates, as per my experience, have always lacked is YouTube channel. My name is Allen Aravindan and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing something probably, I hopefully you're not in this situation, but yes, if in case you are still in this situation where you just have 2 months, 3 months in your hand and according to the standards of the preparation for the CFA program, if you are indeed late, then I have a strategy for you which will still give you a fighting chance to make sure that you actually clear this exam. Okay, so I'm not going to waste much time giving you the context and all because I think you already know and probably you all want to know exactly what you can do, right? So let's get started with the basic approach, and these are the things that we're going to be discussing in this video. The first is, what is it going to require? Now the reason why I say what is it going to require is so that you exactly know also to take care of a lot of related things. For example, talking to your family, talking to your office colleagues on giving you that space so that you can make this happen, right? Which content to use, because at this moment in time, you don't want to be deciding on whether to use the curriculum of CFA or whether to use Kaplan-Schweizer or whether to use Wiley. So there has to be a certain defined approach that we will be using for sure, which you're going to be using for the exam, right? And finally, we're going to be looking at practice strategy and revision strategy, which are going to be very critical for you to make sure that you actually clear this. It is possible to clear this exam even at this time if we are able to pull this off, just like we discuss out here. Okay, now the first is, what does it require, right? So you have to understand that first of all, we are not going to reduce the number of recommended reading hours which the CFA candidate report, survey candidate report says, right? Because if we are under reading at this stage, it would mean that finally we are underprepared, right? So we don't want to do that. So we're going to make sure that we're going to do that 400 hours, but we're going to make it more effective and actually have a winning chance better than even other candidates, right? So that's what we're going to be focusing on how to do that 400 hours in the coming slides. Okay, so secondly, we're going to practice 2000 questions excluding the mocks and at least one exam exam simulated mock in an exam environment. Whether you do it at home or whether you go to a center, doesn't matter, but we have to do these three things. So this is what we're going to take at the start so that you make this happen. So now you have to understand that whether your environment or related things are going to support you to actually get this executed, right? So now let's move on to the next slide, in which let's discuss about the candidates report. Now why did I say 400 hours? Because if you look at the CFA candidates report also, you'll realize that on an average, a successful candidate takes about 303 hours to prepare for the CFA level 1 exam. Now, we really don't want to be, just targeting 303 because 303 basis averages, and we understand now that averages can be, affected a lot by the outlier, data points, and hence we just don't want to stick to 300. We want to make sure that we do a little more than that, and that includes 400, which includes our practice. And practice is the place that we're going to win this game, because there are in terms of the reading hours, a lot of candidates are going to be way ahead of you because they've got 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, right? But the only place where most of the candidates, as per my experience, have always lacked is practice. Now, if you're able to pull off a lot of practice during these 400 hours preparation, then I think we have a winning chance to get this done, right? So let's move to the next slide, in which let's discuss on the contents to refer. Plain and simple, it has to be Kaplan-Schweizer, right? In other times, I would have said, okay, you know what, to refer curriculum because it gives you a better understanding. At this moment, if you ever wanted to actually use Kaplan-Schweizer for the CFA preparation, the time is now, because this is the time where we require concise content, exam-oriented content, and we don't have the time to go through all the case studies and case links which are given in the curriculum. It's not possible to do it in 2 months with the CFA curriculum. This is the time where you need the Kaplan-Schweizer. So get your Kaplan-Schweizer ready. If you don't have it, borrow it. Get some second-hand versions of it if it's available. But you need to get the Kaplan-Schweizer. Let's move to the next part, which is the practice strategy. Now, our practice strategy is not going to be the slow and steady practice for 8 months that we usually do in a CFA preparation, right? In which we are, slowly practicing the end of chapter questions. No, that's not how it's going to happen. In our case, it's going to be, the first approach is going to be read text from Kaplan. Second is going to be you're going to get those 6 mocks which are available with Kaplan itself, or there are tons of other mocks which are available online which are sometimes are free of charge. If it's chargeable, get them, but all our practice are going to be from mock paper questions. The reason is because we don't want to practice questions which finally do not reflect the exam. So we want to practice questions which actually reflect the exam. So once the subject is over or a reading is over, we want to go to that mock paper in the section of financial statement analysis. Let's say we are preparing for FSA, and we do only those specific questions which are related to that. This is the optimum practice strategy while you read text. Okay. But one word of advice is that don't get stuck up, because if you are not getting questions related to that, then in that case, of course, just go to the portal questions or maybe go to the end of chapter questions and do it. But side by side practice is going to be a key factor in our practice strategy for the CFA upcoming exam. Right now, 2 hours per day from day one is going to be our focus of only practice. So that means if we are dedicating 6 hours per day, in that 6 hours, 2 hours is going to be completely dedicated to practice, which means somewhere around 45 questions. Right now, the reason why we say 45 questions is because in 2 months, if we are doing that consistently, we'll reach 2000 questions, which is ample practice and a focused practice. Right now, let's move to the next part, which is the revision strategy. Now, we don't have the luxury of getting 1 month full or 15 days to revise the content or the text. So our revision is going to be parallel. Okay, so how do we revise? Very simple. In those 45 questions, 5 to 10 questions are going to be on the topics that you've already completed. So let's say if I've completed FSA and Quant within 3 weeks, right? Or let's say 2 weeks. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm reading the other subject, I'm going to be practicing at least 10 questions on the topics which I've completed, again from the mock paper itself. That will make sure that my retention of the content is going to be there. And if there are any gaps which are there, I will be able to address them. So this is how it's going to go. Your new readings, of course, you will be doing your questions daily, or on 35 questions. And for the finished subjects, you're going to be doing at least combined 10 questions. As you complete more subjects, you're free to add more number of questions and probably reduce the new reading questions, because the new reading questions, the topics are going to be smaller and smaller. Hence, the amount of questions required to do on the subjects are going to be less. For example, alternative investments. Now, if you're reading alternative investments, it's not really necessary to do 35 questions, so maybe 10 questions there and more questions towards revision, right? So you have to be very aware on the weightage of the topics. You have to focus on, larger topics, tools topics, FSA, Quant, corporate finance, economics, equity valuation, fixed term. These are heavyweight subjects. So these topics have higher number of readings and requires more questions. So be aware of that while you practice all the time, right? Finally, I'm going to be suggesting you to use a study planner so that you are able to track your progress all throughout the preparation. Because if you don't have a study planner and if you're not tracking, there's a good chance at this stage that you might just miss out the bus. So it's best to have some track. So maybe a weekly update on the Excel sheet will help you in keeping a track on whether your practice is ample for that section. And for the same reason, I've created a study planner. You're free to use. The link is in the description. Please download it. It's based on what exactly is the benchmark required. Okay, so what you can do is I'll just briefly explain you how to use this. So once you get the Excel, just put your exam date and your preparation start date, and as per that, all these data will get updated. And below this, if you go, you will see a place where you can actually put in your progress weekly, and it will finally tell you whether your reading level and your practice level is at this level, right? So in a nutshell, if I have to summarize what we just discussed, it's saying that you need to dedicate at least 6 hours per day till the exam day. It has to be consistent. Even more, if you can afford more during the weekends, please go ahead and try to do even more than 6 hours. Try to practice. Fact, 45 questions have to be done. Now, these are the two deciding factors which will make sure that you have a fighting chance in winning this, clearing this exam. Ethics preparation does not have to be separate. It has to be parallelly in the night. Make sure that you're reading ethics, content from the curriculum every day, so that you don't spend time preparing ethics separately, because you don't have the time, right? So we have just 9 subjects and we have to focus on the main 9 subjects. Ethics, we can do it every day because it's not very heavy. And if you're doing it every day, it will be a breeze to clear, right? We don't have the luxury of doing, 3-6 mocks at the end. So what we're going to be doing is, as we complete 50% content, right, we will start giving mocks at that stage itself. So in the weekend time, if let's say my 5 subjects are over, so what I'll do is I'll start giving a half mock. Then if 6 subjects are over, then I'll give a 6th subjects based mock, then a 7th subject mock, then 8 and 9, and then finally one full length mock at the end. That still gives us a very very good chance, a competitive chance to clear this exam and even do better. And of course, the one mock before the exam has to be given so that you are experiencing the exam, and do not get bogged down by the score, because you really can't say whether the mock exams, whether the results are going to be exactly like the mocks. So this is a short video on the entire CFA preparation. If in case you are a little late, I hope you like the video, and if you like the video, please subscribe to our channel and share with your friends. And I will be back again with another video next week.